Hi. Hello. We are now live. Welcome everybody to our live show for our August book of the month, The Name of the Book Club. We're going to be talking about Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik, which is going to be very exciting. Before we jump into discussing everything and while people are just coming into the live show and things like that, I feel like we should just mention some exciting stuff about our next book, which we're going to be reading, which, if you haven't seen the announcement yet, is City of Lies by Sam Hawke, which is a high fantasy novel. It's by an Australian author, which is also very exciting. And we are running a giveaway over on our Instagram. So this is only open to people in Australia. Is the publisher sending the book to the winner directly?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So Australian publisher sending only to Australian people. So I'm sorry, international people, but if you live in Australia and you want to join in or you're interested in reading this at any point, definitely go and enter the giveaway. It's on our Instagram page at Name of the Book. And it should be our latest post. So you can just enter there. Exciting stuff. I'm really looking forward to reading this. Yay.
I say, I'm so excited.
Yay. Oh, everyone seems to be really excited about it, which is awesome.
Yeah, no, it's great.
I just realized it's been blurbed by Robin Hobb. Oh, another Robin Hobb.
I know, another Robin Hobb, yeah.
Terry Brooks, Adrian Tchaikovsky, and then reviewed by Kirkus Reviews. Ooh, exciting.
And The Guardian also reviewed it just recently as well. So, yeah, super excited.
Yeah, really looking forward to jumping into that. So we'll get to that soon. Also, for anyone watching that is also from Australia, if you live in Brisbane, the book meet for September when discussing City of Lies is going to be a week earlier than normal because Jean and Piera will not be in Brisbane on the last Saturday of the month. So just wanted to let you guys know that. Yeah, that's exciting news. So back to this book though.
Back to Spinning Silver.
Yeah, back to Spinning Silver. This was an interesting book because we had some very differing opinions at our book meets yesterday. So I'm really interested to see what everyone in the comments thinks of it. Let us know what you rated the book in the comments and any general thoughts that you want to start off by letting us know. And I guess we can kick off with some spoiler-free thoughts, our rating of the book and what we thought. Sophia, would you like to let the people know?
Let the people know. Okay, so I finished Spinning Silver earlier this week and I gave it 4 out of 5. There were a few things within it that obviously like deducted that last star for me, but overall I really enjoyed how atmospheric it was. It was very immersive. Like I found myself really just going along with it very well. Yeah, there were a couple of things that were a little bit difficult to like get into, especially with like the multiple perspectives, which I think a lot of us had issues with. A lot of people at the club were just like, oh, like it was really frustrating because it was hard to tell who was speaking because it was all in first person. So you'd have like a few issues where you're just like, oh, like it's just not, I don't know who's talking, and you'd have to go in through like a few sentences to realize who's chatting. But overall, I think that like the world building was really good, in my opinion. I really liked the female characters like Miriam, Wanda, and Irina. I really enjoyed all of them. And I was really like interested about like the Starrick and the Tsar, especially. So we can get into that a little bit more in the spoiler section of it. But yes, how about you, Katrina?
So I finished reading the book about 10 minutes before the start of the book meet yesterday. So at the book meet, I think I yeah, of course, Kaz strikes again. So I think I said 3 stars, but I'm leaning more towards a 2.5.
Oh, girl.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
I know. And we're getting some, okay. We've got one person who also gave it 2.5 in the comments and some other people 4 to 5 stars. Interesting. The majority is given it rave reviews. Most people gave it pretty average reviews at the book meet. So that's very interesting.
We had one person that gave it 1 star and another girl that gave it 5, and they were sitting right next to each other. It was just so funny. And they just looked at each other like, oh.
And then on the other side, there were 2 people that rated it like 4.8 stars. So she was just like a little island all on her own. Yeah, so I do agree with a lot of the things that you said, but for example, I found the perspectives really confusing. And one point that was made is there was a couple of people who actually read an advanced copy of the book, and in that copy of the book, so like hold on, I'll give you an example. So in at least the Australian paperback, to denote a new perspective, they had this little spindle for like between every different shift between perspectives. But in the advanced reader copy, it actually had different symbols to illustrate who was actually speaking. So for Miriam, there was like some coins. For the Tsar, there was some fire. For Irina, there was a crown. So it actually told you, or at least gave you a symbol that indicated who was speaking at that point in time. So that would have been so much easier to understand. But I really did take issue with the shifting perspectives when I didn't feel like the voices were super different, especially when there was first person. Like Stepan was probably the most different because he was younger and he did read like a
you can tell like the way that he was written, it was very simplistic, which was like really good because he's technically really, really young.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but I felt like Irina and Miriam, like their perspectives were quite similar because I think they're like a similar age and their intelligence was quite similar as well. So it was just like the only way you could really tell who was talking was like where they were located and like what was going on around them. Yeah.
And then like if they were with other people, they'd say their names, and it wasn't until they'd said everybody's names around them that I was like, okay, so the one person left is this. So like I found that when we started getting Magretta's point of view, I really struggled to determine if it was her or Irina speaking because they would often talk about the Tsar first. So I was like, what's going on? So I did take a little bit of issue with that. And I did find it really slow. And I don't necessarily have an issue with slow books, but I found like the middle half of the book was just really tedious for me and I really struggled.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. But I think because I read it in like small increments, like I would go home and read like maybe like 2 chapters. And because it was like, because the pacing was so slow, I was able to enjoy it like that, which I know for some people, people like to read a book in like one sitting or something like that. Yeah, so I can understand why people had issues with the pacing because it was like really slow. And yes, the middle is very like, like for fuck's sake, when is this gonna end?
The first quarter, I found it really fascinating getting to know the characters with the like 2 or 3 perspectives that we had, and the world building was really cool. And then the last quarter, we actually get some action, and the climax I thought was pretty epic. So I did find that really interesting. But I think it probably didn't help that I was reading this while also reading a couple of other books, including A Gathering of Shadows / A Conjuring of Light, which is very fast-paced.
Yeah, they're so fast-paced.
Action-packed. So in comparison, I was just like, it felt like such a chore to get through this. And then for the most part, I didn't really feel anything for the characters.
Yeah, I think the only... Like, I feel for some reason with me, like when I was reading it, like Miriam, because like she's obviously the first perspective that you encounter, I really liked her progression and her character development.
Yeah.
But I feel as though between like, I think like the only characters I really got attached to were like I really got attached to Miriam, but then I also kind of got attached to the Tsar because I was like, he is so interesting. With like his background and like what's happening to him at this point in time. And I was like, I want to know more about him. So I got really attached to him because I'm just like, I want to know what's going on with this guy. Like the poor dude, he needs a bit of help. But yeah, I really liked that. But and the Starrick was interesting too. I wasn't necessarily attached. I was just very curious about like their history, their background, and where they came from and why they were just why they were doing all of these things to the villages and things like that. I just wanted to know more about that. But I think the whole point, because it was a fairy tale retelling, it's not necessarily, it doesn't have to necessarily be explained. Yeah. Because it's just like given, like you know what's going on.
Yeah, there's going to be some assumed knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm not like super familiar with the original story. I think it would have been interesting to see if I'd like actually read the original Rumpelstiltskin and if I would have picked up on some more of the links, because it wasn't like a direct retelling of everything. I feel like there were like small things here and there.
Yeah, like there was like the fact that she had to, oh no, I'm not going to say that because that's technically spoiling. We'll do it later.
Yep. We'll get into spoilers in a moment.
Yeah.
Cool. Oh, some people, the audiobook was the same, but at least the different voices helped a bit. Very
Well, there are
conflicted.
different voices in the audiobook. I thought that it
Oh.
was just one narrator.
That's maybe. Would there be different audiobooks? There's probably not.
No,
Hmm.
because like yeah, because the audiobook that I had was just one narrator.
Oh, really? Or maybe they put on different voices, like the one
Yeah,
narrator.
they probably did, yeah. But I think because I only got up to like, I only listened to the audiobook when it was just Irina and Miriam, I
Right.
think, just their perspectives,
Hmm.
or Wanda and Miriam, I can't remember.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was only the two female characters. There was no nothing with like the
Yeah.
Tsar or the Stark or anything like that. So
Yeah.
yeah. It's probably why I didn't realize there was different voices.
Yeah. Very interesting. Yeah,
But
someone at the book meet was saying how it was very confusing. She listened to the audiobook and found it very confusing because there wasn't markers between the different people. So like it was hard to tell
yeah.
when there was a new perspective that popped up.
Yeah, because like when I was listening to it, like it took me a while to realize that there were two. I was like, oh, I thought it was one character the
Yeah.
entire time. And then I had to go back and just like do and just read the paperback because I was
Oh
just getting
no.
really confused. It
Yeah.
was just like, yeah, that was just
Mm,
me though. Could
mm,
have just
yeah.
been the fact that I was like at work trying to listen to this audiobook. This
Potentially.
doesn't quite work. Yeah, potentially.
Yeah. Oops, sorry. This is not the table. Okay, so maybe we'll start diving into some spoilery discussions. So if you haven't read the book, if you haven't read Spinning Silver and you don't want to get spoiled, then I would probably not recommend continuing. Otherwise, if you have read the book and you want to talk about anything particular, feel free to leave some thoughts or questions in the comments and we can touch upon some of those things. Otherwise, yeah, we're going to talk about some nitty-gritty details now.
Yeah, details. Let's
Yeah.
get into it.
Okay, so what should we discuss first?
Um, I don't even know
What were you
what
going to
should
say
we
before
what
about
I
the
was gonna
perspectives?
say, what I was gonna say about like, because the fact that it was like a Rumpelstiltskin retelling, like, because you were saying you didn't quite get like some of the elements, like one of the
Or did pick up
elements,
on them at least, yeah.
yeah, like the fact that she had to change like three storerooms of silver into gold,
Mm-hmm.
like in the fairy tale, I believe she, like the woman has to spin. She has like 3 days to spin all of the straw into gold.
Mm-hmm.
And then like Rumpelstiltskin like rocks up and is like, "Oh, I'll help you do all this." And then on the third day, he says like, "Oh, if I do this for you, then you have to give me your firstborn child because
Mm-hmm.
if she's able to do all of the straw into gold, then like the king would marry her or something like that." Can't remember. But yeah, so there's like very, very small elements of the fairy tale within each character. So yeah, I don't know. It was very interesting in
Yeah.
that regard.
And also the fact that when the Starrick initially like drops that pouch of silver on her doorstep, and she like kind of proves that she's able to turn silver into gold, she also does it 3 times as well.
Yeah, because there's a whole thing with the rule of three within
Mm.
fairy tales. It's just
Mm-hmm.
like once it's done 3 times, then it becomes true. I think that's
Yeah.
what Elle said.
Yeah.
Yeah. But actually, something that I would like to kind of talk about is like I feel like Miriam's power was never really explained or defined. Like the
Yeah.
fact that she could turn silver into gold in the Starrick world, but was unable to like.
And I
Just,
suppose only turning Starrick silver into
it
gold.
was only Starrick silver because like there's that scene when the Starrick has been captured. And
Mm.
oh, Els. Yes, I know
Yeah.
Els. Yeah, I know you said
We
that.
love your fairy
Um,
tale
love you,
knowledge.
Els. Yeah, because there's that scene when like the Starrick's been captured and he has the necklace around his neck,
Mm.
but in like the only way they're able to like break it is by she has to touch the silver that's from
Yeah.
like the Starrick silver because the normal
Yeah.
silver doesn't change.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, it's so weird. I just don't understand it. But
Yeah.
yeah.
And then someone was also saying there's a lot of other Eastern European mythology included as well. Yeah, definitely. Like
Oh,
mention of
yeah,
Baba
definitely.
Yaga and the Chernobog, which I believe is also
Yeah, that was really good. I really liked that.
yeah, which is so cool. I really did like the Russian inspired setting. I thought that was so fascinating. I didn't expect it. I actually didn't go into this knowing that it was going to be set in like a fantastical world that did have a lot of ties to Russia or at least Eastern Europe. So that was really cool.
Yeah. And like and I guess who was it that brought up Sass, which was brought up the whole like anti-Semitism kind of thing as well with
Mm.
all of the Jewish families and how they're
Yeah.
treated. I think that
Mhm.
gave it like a very like gave it that like that kind of cultural history as well,
Definitely.
which almost in a way stopped it from being a fantasy. Like I don't know what it
Yeah.
was, but like
It
it kind
didn't
of just
really root it in something that was so real, and it was like, oh, it at first it was kind of disconcerting, but I got into the swing of it, and I was like, I did enjoy it.
yeah.
So.
I really like yeah, I liked that. That was really interesting. It
But
was
I feel like they didn't go into much detail about what other religions there were. Like there were these Jewish people, Jewish communities, but what about other beliefs and stuff? I feel like they didn't really touch upon
no, it wasn't exactly
outside of
there wasn't yeah, there wasn't
that.
much else. I felt like yeah, it would have been nice to like have a bit of a contrast, but
Yeah, just flesh
maybe
it
that
out
was
a little bit more.
yeah. I mean, she did have a lot of space to flesh it out.
Yes.
Not gonna lie, she had a
Yeah.
lot of time.
Yeah.
But nah,
Exactly.
we just had to focus on like other things.
Yeah.
Oh, let's talk about the cabin. I think the cabin was
The
really interesting.
cabin was super interesting.
Yeah,
So it's like a fixed point, which is like almost a doorway between the two worlds, the
like the Starrick world and
mortal
the
and
sunlit
etheric world.
world. Is that what they called it? He called it the
Yeah.
sunlit world, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah. Um, yeah, so it's like this fixed point. It exists in both realms and like a lot of the items within the house. So I thought that was really interesting how there was like these different things moving around. Like if Irina moved or Margreta moved something, then it would also kind of move in the other one. But I was also like, but
Yeah.
wouldn't they, are they only like, is one group asleep while the other one's awake and that's why they're not noticing anything moving?
No, I think it's because like they just I think because they were I think the way I saw it was like because like Wanda and what's her brother's name again?
Steph, oh, Sergey.
Sergey. Because Wanda and Sergey were in like the mortal realm and then like Margareta and Irina were in like the other like in the other realm, I guess you could say.
Mm.
It didn't really matter like when they did things, but like I think like when Irina like would move something, it would then translate into the other world like a little bit later. I feel like there was a bit of
That's
like a
what
delay.
I felt probably happened.
Yeah. And I
Yeah,
like
that makes
I
sense.
think when I first like when I was first reading the cabin section and then like things were moving, I was like, "Oh, what is going on here?"
Mm.
And like it took me a while to realize that it's because like the other guys were moving it in the other world and I was like, "Oh, wow, I feel so dumb not realizing it." So bad.
That's hilarious.
I was like, "Oh, I get it now."
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Oh, that's funny.
That was so funny though.
Oh.
Yeah.
One other thing I found really interesting was how Irina uses mirrors to step into the Starrick world. And this was something really interesting because someone asked if that's something that happens a lot or is in a lot of fairy stories. And Elle said she didn't really know or didn't think that it was something that was very frequent. But I recently read Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, and in that, mirrors are used as like a road, like you enter the mirror and you're in like on the fairy road. So it's like a
Mm.
kind of different realm, and you can use that road to get to other places in the mortal world, kind of. So I just applied some of that idea onto this mirror thing and was like,
Yeah,
oh,
I think it's also yeah to do with like kind of not assumed knowledge, but like you're going into the story with some sort of like fairy tale
mm,
background in your life. So yeah, so you're able to like pick up on those things. Like when she goes through the mirror, you're like, oh, like I kind of get what that means.
mm.
But also the fact that she would literally just go through the mirror to avoid the Tsar was my favorite thing ever.
Oh,
Like it's just like, bye, I'm just not gonna deal with you. It's just
well,
going
yeah.
into the mirror. See you later. Um,
Oh, sorry. Elle said the magic mirror is definitely a part of fairy tale genre iconography, but the use of it as a gateway is less prevalent. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
fair enough. Oh yeah, because like Beauty and the Beast, yeah, with the mirror. What am I on
Mhm.
about? Ha 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 ha. So-
Yeah.
sorry. Also, okay, so M Baby Blue has said, "What did you think about the Tsarina?" So when
Mhm.
she's first introduced, she seems kind of meek and just an average girl, but then suddenly she's this super political-minded strategist. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, totally get what you mean by that.
Yeah.
But I think because she was I think in my opinion, like Irina was a very she wasn't I wouldn't say oppressed, but like because of her upbringing with her dad as well. She was always just in the background, always listening and doing all those kinds of things. And then suddenly she's thrust into this position where she is suddenly like the Tsarina and she has all of this power to like change things. And in a way, I guess she had just realized she had to fill in these shoes and just go with it and figure out what to do, especially considering that the Tsar was being like possessed by the demon. And she's like, well, how am I going to fix both this and the famine that's happening in the country? I don't know. Yeah, so I think she just really, in my opinion, she just had to step up and just do it. And in a way, it kind of also reflected the different types of women in the book. Like Wanda she's like comes from like poverty, and she has to like work really, really hard to get where she has to be with her, like, and like work with her relationships with her brothers. And then you have Miriam, who takes up the mantle of her father's like money lending. So I think like the women in the book just had to like really just step up and just do the things that the men couldn't do. Sorry guys. Just what they had to do. They just do what they gotta do. Yeah.
And like you said as well with Irina, she was always like, not really much was expected of her. Like it felt like she didn't have, her father wasn't really putting much care into what to do with her. And I feel like there also probably wasn't as much expectation on her to like fulfill some of the roles that.
Yeah, it was like, it was just like, she'll just be the Tsarina. She'll just give heirs. That's it. She has no.
Yeah. And then I did find that, like, because it's first person, I kind of expected to see more of her mental thoughts as she was transitioning into being more political and thinking about the kingdom. Like, I expected a little more internal thought on that. I felt like it kind of shifted without us really noticing, or a bit fast. But I did really like that change in her. Like, I really liked her character at the end of the story.
I think also because like when she becomes Tsarina, it's during the stage in the book where there's all these other things happening. So I feel as though there wasn't a lot of space or time for her to be like, for like Naomi to be like, let's flesh out like Irina's character a little bit and be like, why is she suddenly this like strategist? I think she's like, oh, we just have to go with it. This is what she has to do. That's it. Yeah. Definitely. I also, something I really liked about, like I forgot to mention at the book meet, was I really liked Miriam's like parents, and I really liked their relationship with her, and the fact that like nobody like it's like she didn't kill off her parents. Which I find it's just like she didn't kill her mom or anything like that. I'm like, they're all alive, and it's beautiful. I loved it.
It felt for a moment, I was really worried that she was going to die, and I was like, of course, this tragedy. And then I was really happy. I was really pleasantly surprised that she didn't die.
Yeah, and the fact that she would always, like, her mum would always force herself to remember Miriam, because when she disappears, like when the Starrick takes her, and it's just kind of like the thing where they just kind of forget that they almost had a daughter. And I'm like, no, but she remembers her.
You can just, and you can just see her moving around, like looking confused and trying to remember something, but she didn't know what it was. So even if she wasn't actively thinking of her daughter, like she almost like subconsciously knew there was something wrong or something missing, and she was just kind of like trying to navigate.
Yeah, where she puts like the extra place setting for dinner.
Yeah.
It's like, I was like, wholesome. I love it.
And I was actually, by the end of the story, that was one of my favorite things actually, when Miriam comes back on the first day of winter, and she's like, she hugged her parents, and then she saw her brothers and sisters. She called Wanda and Stepan and Sergei, her brothers and sisters, and I was like, that's so sweet.
Beautiful.
That was
I loved that. I was like, oh, wholesome family. I love it. Yeah, I liked the family element to the book.
Oh yeah, definitely,
especially with them. And I really liked the fact.
Sorry, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say I really liked the fact that like Wanda never gets like a love interest. She like her entire section is basically just focusing on like helping her brothers, getting to a place where they were all safe and like comfortable. And I was like, yes, it's exactly what I would do as a big sister.
Yeah,
it's exactly what I would do.
Okay, I do have 2 points. Hopefully I don't forget them.
Go.
Okay, wait. Oh, fuck. I did forget them. Okay. What was I gonna say?
Girl, I don't know what
Okay.
you were gonna say.
I did. Okay, I liked that we didn't have this like coupling of every single main character that we have in a book.
Yeah,
Which
that was
definitely
good.
happens a lot. So it was really nice to see that not everyone needs to end up with someone within the narrative, and like you can still be happy without having a romantic interest. But even still with the Tsar and the Tsarina, and then the Starrick and Miriam, even though they're like married, they're not like romantic interests. It was really interesting because I don't ship any of those two couples necessarily. Just that I think they've got a very fascinating history in both situations. But I really appreciated how it was like individually with both of those marriages. It was kind of like a journey from like such animosity, so much conflict, and like growing and learning to respect each other. That's what
Yeah,
I
I
really
liked that.
appreciated.
Yeah.
It wasn't about
Yeah.
developing attractions and romance. It was like respecting each other, which I think is really important with marriage. So it was nice that by the
Yeah.
end of the story, in both places, there seemed to be some level of respect or understanding and empathy.
Yeah, especially between the Starrick and Miriam, because they
Yeah,
were like
that was
literally
great.
just two different races
Yeah.
of people. Like,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was really good.
Yeah.
What was your second point? Or was that your
I think
entire
my
point?
first point was the coupling thing.
Yeah.
But I feel like there was something else I was going to say as well. So we'll see if that pops up again. Oh well.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, because I really liked, in my opinion, like I liked the development of the Tsarina and the Tsar's
Mhm.
like relationship because like they literally like because the demon is literally just like, oh yeah, Irina did not like just fall all over me and like fall in love with me. I'm gonna marry her because she said no to
Mhm.
me, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh,
So
okay, okay, son, you do that. Um,
yeah.
and then like the Tsar is just like, oh my god, why am I stuck with this chick?
I know. He's
So he's so
such an
bitter.
interesting character. So bitter because like obviously a lot of the things he does like it's because he's got this demon in him. And I don't think in a lot of instances it explains everything, but in some instances doesn't necessarily excuse it. But
Yeah.
like you can understand why. And then he was just such an interesting character because so much of the time he was just acting like a spoiled child.
Oh my god, he was so
He was so
extra.
bratty.
Such a brat, especially with his clothes. Like Jesus
Oh,
Christ. Oh my
so funny.
god. Like he'll just like change into his clothes and just be like, "Nah, Irina,
Yeah.
you have to change your clothes too. Like
Yeah.
you're wearing the same clothes from yesterday. You have to
Yeah.
change." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh my god, this boy,
Yeah. And like
so extra."
so even though I'm not really like as I said, not really shipping them, not really caring about any romance between them. The end of the Tsar and the Tsarina's story, I really enjoyed because it ends with like Irina just kicking the monster's ass and outsmarting it and being like, "Go fuck off! Like, don't hurt
Yeah, because
anybody
the
in
whole
my
point she's
kingdom."
like, "You
Or
leave
Tsar.
me and what is mine alone," and then
Yeah,
she's like, "The Tsar's
her
mine," and I
whole
was like, "Oh."
kingdom is hers. Yeah, and the Tsar as well. So like she defeats it kind of. And then that moment where the Tsar looks at her as if she was the most beautiful thing in the world. And after all the shit with being like, she's so average. Why do people think she's so beautiful? And like that moment of just like admiration, I was like, this is really precious. I think it's like the start of hopefully a healthy relationship, if not necessarily super romantic, it's just marriage and
Yeah.
partnership.
I love
So
like so and Baby Blue says, I love that he was so mad he couldn't find out why everyone thought she was so beautiful. Like the drawings. He would just draw her and be like shout to everyone and be like, what do you see? It was so funny. I
so
loved that.
funny.
That was really good, yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like, why like and everyone's like, it's a Zarina, she's beautiful. And he's like, but what do you see?
Yeah.
It was so good.
Oh, so
Okay,
funny.
there's another comment here. I really liked the Starrick King and his kind of prophecy element. Everything he says ends up coming to pass. Just like telling her she would never be a true Starrick Queen until she sealed the mountain. Yeah, that was really interesting. I quite liked how like he just knew
Mm,
a lot of things, and it's almost like I'm gonna tell you these things, and then you take from it what you will, and
mm,
you figure it out. And I was
yeah.
like, why be so cryptic?
Mm.
So stupid. Tell me. Just tell her straight up, boy. But just tell her straight up. But yeah.
What was it? Someone was mentioning how he seemed to know from the start what it was, but at the start of the story, like with him approaching Miriam and getting her to change silver into gold, it like was portrayed as just desire type thing, or just like wanting gold.
Yeah,
It explained as an afterthought really quickly and not it just come out of nowhere.
yeah, I can't remember, but yeah, there was this thing where it was just like, is he just after gold? Like that's all he wanted from her. And then next minute, haha,
like,
you're married.
Like I get that she like from Miriam's perspective, she wouldn't understand that there was some greater plan or something. But it just like as a reader, that's how it really came across. And so it seemed like convenient that from the start he knew.
Yeah. And I think maybe in a way he could have just been like looking for someone that was able to do it.
Mm.
And like considering we don't really know a lot about him, like we don't know how old he is, we don't know like how long he's been around, and like he could have had like all of this knowledge just in his head, and he sees Miriam and he's like, oh yeah, she will seal the mountain. Let me plant the seed and just let it. Oh my god, I don't know, but it was interesting. I liked it.
Yeah. And good point as well. My niece Nicole Feinart said, and then the shock every time she actually did everything. So like, if he knew, why was he so shocked that she was able to do things?
Maybe he thought that like, maybe he was like, I'm just gonna like second guess or like just doubt it and be like, maybe she can't do it, and the next minute she does it, and it's like, oh wait,
but
she
I think
can do it.
Yeah, but I guess like from that perspective of like the explanation kind of seeming a bit jarring, like his shock definitely would have added to it, because like as a reader you would never guess that he knew that she was able to do it if he acted shocked every time. So yeah, it was interesting. I definitely kind of wanted more explanation about how the Starrick world kind of worked and the kingdom, I guess. Like everything that was explained was also kind of still confusing and difficult to wrap my head around, but I get it because it's so different.
Yeah. I feel like
no, you go. Thing like when she gave the servants gold in exchange.
And then when she gave Fleck's daughter,
like the bondswoman thing.
Yeah, the bondswoman thing. Yeah, that was interesting. I feel like that was interesting, but never like fully explained. And then you're just like, oh, okay, so this is now just a thing.
I thought it was really interesting, but it was difficult to fully wrap my head around like the limitations of it and how.
Yeah, but maybe also in a way, the reason why it wasn't necessarily explained a lot is because maybe Miriam wasn't able to comprehend the Starrick world as like fully as we would have, or like if it was like in third person, because it was in first, she's probably just like seeing all of these things, and we as readers have to piece it all together, but there were enough pieces for us to be like, oh, okay, this makes sense.
Yeah. I think that's probably one of the other things, like, because partly because of the perspectives, but I kind of wish this was written in third person. Like I think there's a lot of ways that it probably works better in first person, but like just on a personal preference, I think I would have maybe preferred the story a little bit more if it was in third person, because then it wouldn't be the issues of the different perspectives. We'd just like kind of jump and see glimpses into these different characters and things like that. And maybe there would have been more room to flesh out some of the answers to some of the questions that I had about the magic and the Starrick world and things like that, because that was something I was really interested in but wanted more from.
Yeah, I agree. I wish it was in third, simply because I also find that high fantasy works so much better in third person.
Yeah.
But like that's just obviously like, you know, Naomi Novik like prefers first. I was like, that's fine, girl, you do you.
Yeah.
You write how you want to write.
Yeah. And there definitely would have been reasons behind it, but just like a personal preference there.
Yeah. What would else say? I think it would have been
a really interesting perspective is to keep the first person, but only one narrator who's telling the story after it has happened.
Yeah, that would have been good.
Just because I think Stepan's perspective was so unnecessary, and I was messaging the group the other day. It was like, does Stepan have any role in this story? Because we have so many parts from his perspective. He's absolutely doing nothing. We're just seeing through his eyes what the other characters are doing, and he's annoying me, and he doesn't really do much. And like his entire role is carrying this nut, which does play a role in like the climax of the story, but there's not like before that there's not enough for him to do, and it was so frustrating.
Just the nut was so annoying. Oh my god, the fact that he literally carries this in his pocket and then he loses it and he drops it. It's like, what the fuck, mate? Like, are you kidding me?
You know. So much writing on this bloody nut.
So salty about the nut.
And then also Magretta's point of view, I think, was pretty unnecessary as well, because she was like, there was a couple of moments when she would like, she was in the hut by herself and she was like knitting, and then that would transfer across into the mortal world, the sunlit world. But apart from that, she was just like kind of watching what Irina was doing a lot of the time, or what the Tsar was doing. I was like, we've already got those two perspectives. Like, we don't need more.
But yeah, I think I honestly liked her perspective towards the end, like the last chapter with the Tsar and the Tsarina, when like she fights off the demon. I thought that, because like then I feel as though you wouldn't have had like that outsider perspective into like the way that the Tsar was looking at Irina. Because like if it was from one of their perspectives, I feel like the impact wouldn't have been the same. But that's just my opinion.
And I definitely agree with Els. I guess he was supposed to be showing Miriam's parents in her absence. And like, I did like that fact, but again, I think I would prefer not being in his head and just seeing them from an omniscient third person narrator, or having Miriam reflect back on everything with the knowledge she's garnered after the events.
That would have been good. But alas, that's not what we got.
That's what we got anyway.
We did not get it. It's fine. I'm just moving my laptop around.
Yes, all good. Yes. Yes. I'm trying to think of anything else. Any other points that were raised yesterday, or anything else?
Not really. I think we covered a lot of it just then.
Yeah.
What do you know what Pierre thought of the book?
Did not like it. I think she probably agrees with a lot of the things that we said. I think when she first started reading it for the first half, she was like, I don't hate it. I'm surprised I don't hate it. But she didn't, and by the end of it, she was like, eh.
Yeah, I think she said like she didn't love it, but she didn't hate it.
Yeah.
So it was just like a very
That's how I kind of feel.
mediocre opinion.
I was just because I got to the halfway point and I was just really mad that the plot hadn't done anything yet. Because like it's setting up for all of
so much setup. Yeah.
Yes, so much setup for all of these different stories to intertwine. But because it was also such a slow read as well, it was just like, where's the plot?
I need to know what's happening. Yeah.
But I did like the last quarter, I did really enjoy a lot more.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. The last quarter was definitely the most like intense out of all of it. Yeah. It was really good at the end. And I liked the ending. Like I liked that we never know the Starrick's name.
I thought that was really interesting, yeah.
Yeah. Because there's this whole power thing to do with names in his world.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I like it. We'll never know.
I thought it was also quite interesting though that he still like kind of agreed to marry as according to Miriam's culture and revealed his name to her, and
it shows the respect.
I know.
That he has.
It
was good.
Because like I thought it was really interesting. Like I really did like that he did that and had obviously ended up respecting Miriam. And I wish, like, I feel like it would have been really tedious having this at the end. Maybe it could have just been an epilogue, but she just whizzes through and like jumps ahead 6 months from the time that she returns to the Starrick world after all is said and done. And then when they go back and he asks her parents to court her, and we just don't really witness all of this change and like seeing their relationship change. So it just felt like so jarring, and I liked it, but I wish that I could have seen a little more of what had changed there.
I agree.
Wanted the evidence. I needed the receipts.
Where are my receipts? Oh, it would have so good if we had receipts, but no, alas, no. All right.
You said I recently read the author's first book, so I was expecting the pace of the book already, and waited for a time when I was in the mood for a slower read.
Fair call. Yeah, because I think a lot of us hadn't read Uprooted.
Yeah.
So, and because obviously you don't have to read Uprooted to read Spinning Silver, so we're just like, oh yeah, whatever. But yeah, there were a couple of people at the book club that said that they had read Uprooted and they didn't like it. I don't remember why, but they did like the dragon one. Yes, Elle's the dragon one. Yeah, Uprooted, I believe.
Mm.
Yes. So, I mean, I don't think we have anything else to chat about, do we?
I feel like we've said pretty much everything that we wanted to say. But yeah, if you guys have any other comments or any other questions that you want us to answer before we finish up this live show, let us know. Otherwise, in the meantime, I'll just, for the people who have come after the start of the live show, I will just recap
the beginning,
what I said at the start, talking about this. So this is our September book of the month. We are reading City of Lies by Sam Hawke, which is a fantasy by an Aussie author, which is very exciting. And if you live in Australia and you don't have a copy of this book yet, we are hosting a giveaway for a hardcover edition of the book over on our Instagram page at Name of the Book. It's the first post. You just, I think, tag 2 people and tell us what a recent favourite book you've read is in the comments, and then you're entered to win. Sorry, it's only Australia, unfortunately, but for those Aussie folks who are keen, go and enter. And then we'll be reading that next month.
Yes.
Very exciting. And then
super exciting.
Because Pierre will be down in Sydney the last weekend of September. So the Brisbane meet will be a little earlier. And then she will be joining our Sydney book meet, which is cool. And then she will also be like physically with me for the live show because she's staying with me. So we'll both be here on one screen. Woo!
So much salt is going to be on the same screen. No, I'm joking.
Oh yeah, I'm excited.
Hopefully we all enjoy this one a lot more.
We've had such an interesting mix of books, and I feel like there's definitely not been any book that everyone's like unanimously loved, which is obviously
maybe this one will be
to happen. Like it's unlikely that absolutely everyone will love it, but maybe we'll see.
Maybe, you never know.
Everyone's really excited about this book, so that's a good sign so far.
Yeah. So yeah, I have nothing else to add.
Awesome.
So
well, thank you guys as well so much for joining us today and sharing your thoughts on Spinning Silver. I hope you guys enjoyed the live show. And yeah, we'll see you in a month's time to talk about City of Lies. Otherwise, talk to you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Good last